Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. I'm not, because I recorded a 30-minute video on Mr. Ross Scott's campaign, man who I very much so respect, and that video is just kind of done because my audio interface did something it hasn't done for 12 years. 12 years, which has completely corrupted all my audio until I unplugged it and plugged it back in. Focusrite Scarlett 212. I'm going to be throwing that thing off my balcony very soon. Anyway, so what today I want to go over is something I've gone over in this channel for a very long time, which is the whole concept that when you buy something, you don't actually own it. With right to repair, I was going over the fact that when you buy something, if you can't fix it, you don't own it. I was going over how manufacturers go out of their way to put in place these intentional barriers to you being able to do what you want with what you own. And if you buy something but you cannot service it, do you really own it? As the years have gone by on this channel, I don't just discuss my industry anymore, because my industry was simply a canary in the coal mine for this whole concept of ownership being revoked from us. Whether you are subscribing to something instead of buying it, whether the terms of the sale change because you're dealing with a cloud subscription, or whether a company calls something a purchase but then decides to redefine that word to say that you're not purchasing the game, you are purchasing a temporary license to be able to use the game until they revoke it. So you think you purchased it, but what we're actually doing is renting or leasing. And I don't like this redefinition of the word. You're not purchasing a temporary license to use it. You are renting or leasing the game. And I'm confident that any of my multilingual viewers who do not live in the United States, in any language across the world, you have a separate word for purchase than you do for rent and lease. These words mean something. And I discussed this in a video I did about 6 months ago, where Ubisoft suggested that you become comfortable not owning games. They wanted you to be comfortable not owning games. And one of the things that I said is that you should, they should feel comfortable not getting paid anymore for their games. You should feel comfortable not giving them money. They are also, around the same time, I went over this game called The Crew. The Crew is a game where you bought it, but it requires you connect to a server in order for it to work, which means you don't actually own it. This is not your game. This is Ubisoft game, because they have the ability to revoke your access to that game at any point in time. And the problem here is, many the corporate bootlickers in my comment section, particularly the ones yesterday, oh my God, the people that don't even realize that a company that is worth hundreds of millions of dollars should at very least have the ability to track serial numbers in their products. The way I could do it, my little bad news bears store that has probably a market cap of 50K, included that in the pinned comment. There are corporate bootlickers in the comment section. You're saying, well, it costs money to maintain the server and you only paid for the game once, so you can't expect it for free. Why are you so entitled? As if they don't understand this whole concept that fundamentally having to connect to somebody else's computer, because that's what the cloud is. It's a computer that belongs to somebody else that you don't control. Having to connect to somebody else's computer to play a video game is complete fucking bullshit. That was a willful decision that Ubisoft made. And as a result of making that willful decision, you don't have the ability to use what you bought and pay for. If that's the case, it should be on the publisher of that game to do whatever is necessary. Maintain the server. If you don't want to maintain the server, do not require a connection to the server for it to work. If you don't want to maintain the server and you want to have it maintain a connection to that in order to work, then you need to open source that server, or at the very least provide a binary executable and instructions on how to set up that server so that the person who wants to play that game can do it at home. Do I want to become a sysadmin to be able to play my game? Not really, but it's better than having no game at all, and I'm confident that somebody else in the community would set up a server that people can connect to who is respected and knows how to do this type of thing. That's not what they did. They decided that they were going to screw all of you. Welcome to today's episode of How You're Getting Effed. I'm your host, Louis Rossman. Now, what Mr. Ross Scott is trying to do here is he wants to create an initiative where people can vote on this and try to get legislative change. And he's trying to do it in the EU. So this over here is a European Citizens Initiative. By the way, if I'm getting any of this wrong, I'm familiar with the legislative process in the US. I know nothing about it in Europe. If I get anything wrong here, please do let me know. I will pin your comments. I'm okay with criticism being corrected when I'm completely wrong. And I'm probably going to be wrong on some of this stuff because I don't understand EU politics or the legislative process. From what I understand here, if he gets 1 million signatures on this particular thing, what happens is EU legislators that actually care about, or at least pretend to care about the citizens, will look it over. And after looking it over, the legislative body will decide on whether or not they want there to be a law or a rule initiated that would be enforced at the government level, which would mean that if this passed, if it gets 1 million signatures and the legislature, after noticing it got 1 million signatures, decides to move forward with it, that would mean that companies like Ubisoft, if they want to sell their video games in Europe, they would need, if you want to enter that market, you have to make it so that that video game is playable if you want to stop supporting the server into the future. Whatever it is, if you do want to make a binary executable available, make it open source, don't require connection server, whatever you need to do to ensure that a gamer can continue to play that game from now until the end of time, you need to do that. So please, if you are in the EU, sign this. Mr. Ross Scott gives you all the instructions you need on the website here, stopkillinggames.com. And you can also follow how this is going on his YouTube channel. I highly suggest you subscribe to it. I've watched his videos, and I would put him up there with Mr. Steve Burke from Gamers Nexus. He's one of those people on YouTube that's not, a PR shill for large companies or he's not a shill for affiliate marketing that is just trying to get you to buy shit that you don't need so that he can make money for himself or be able to hobnob with the executives at these large companies. He doesn't care about his relationship with large companies. He cares about you. He cares about his fellow gamers. He cares about the people. He doesn't care about the people who are trying to take away your rights of ownership. And that's why I respect him. When you get a channel that's, 300,000 subscribers, he can be making money selling you bullshit, and he's not trying to make you money selling you bullshit. He's trying to make the world a better place. And, this is where I'm going to get to the part of the video that's going to be very, very unpopular, because I'm going to start talking about the M word. Not the N word, the M word. M as in Mary. Just, I don't get taken out of context there. The M word really pisses people off, and that's the word called money. So you have two resources in life, and I'm going to go over this because we had a conversation back and forth in the Letters to Lewis channel on my Discord a few months ago. Admittedly, I really should apologize. I'm sorry, Ross. I did not give you the attention that you deserve there. I was trying to do some history class homework and some other stuff for some accelerated classes I was taking, so I wasn't really giving you my full attention, so my apologies for that. And, he was saying a couple of things that I agreed with, and there were some things that I genuinely disagreed with because I used to have this mentality, and it was bad for me. It kept me back in the world, and I wanted to show you why I think this. So he was saying that he wants to create a real plan. He wants to create something that it resembles a plan that he can bring to his audience and say, here's what I'm doing to try to bring back. Why do I have Microsoft shitty search engine on the brain? Bring back your ability to play games again. I want to have a plan on paper rather than just say this, definitely before I collect anybody's money. I can respect that. At least it's, nothing is going to go according to plan in life. However, you should at least have something that you're aiming for. Write something down with a pencil on a napkin, and you're going to get further than if you don't do that. What I didn't agree with were two things. When he said something along the lines of, I feel bad collecting money. There are a lot of other causes in the world that need money, and I would feel bad collecting money for this when there's other stuff that needs to collecting for money for. There's other stuff that needs to be fixed, and this kind of falls into that mindset of as long as there's another problem in the world, I can't focus on this, and I think that is a bad thing to go for. Like as long as there's somebody out there who is suffering for any other reason, we shouldn't focus on the fact that there's lead in the water pipes in Michigan or something. And I wanted to go over this in very detailed way. So we have two resources in life. We have two resources. There is nothing else. We have time and we have money. That's it. Now, even doing this video, people ask me to do this video. I'm not saying this to be bombastic, but in doing this video, I am using my time. I'm giving up my time where I could be making money. And let's be clear, again. To be clear, if my audience actually listened to me, if you actually installed, PF Blocker NG, Brave with Shields, Firefox with uBlock Origin, if my audience actually listened to me, let's put that disclaimer there, this video would make no money. But you don't listen to me. You like watching YouTube scam ads, so you take it. But you shouldn't. If you were doing what I told you all to do, I swear, I wish I could literally ban people from my channel that don't listen to this one rule. uBlock Origin, PF Blocker NG, Brave with Shields turned on. Do it right now. Anyway, I'm using my time to go over this, which means I'm not making money. Now, if I trade my time to make money, and the reason I trade my time to make money is because I want to use that money to find somebody else who's more efficient than me to do something. So, I'm not gonna grow my own food in my backyard. That's gonna be miserable. So I work at something I'm good at, which is board repair. I can do a board repair in 10 minutes. That would take a customer 15 hours to figure out, so that I can have food in my fridge by paying, $2 or $3 for bananas, avocados, stuff like that, so that I don't have to grow it. The farmer spends his time on this, and I give him his money. We have two resources. We have time, and we have money. And for some reason, we are okay giving people the agency to be able to say yes or no to giving us their time. People are going to watch your video. It's 11 minutes long. That's time. People are going to figure out how to follow your instructions over here. That's time. They're going to sign up for this initiative. That's time. They're going to contact those politicians once this has 1 million signatures. That's time. They're going to ask their friends to donate to this, not donate, or to sign this. That's time. We have no problem going up to people we don't even know and asking for their most limited resource, because that is, unlike money, you can always make money back. You can't get time back. You have a finite amount of time. Everybody watching this is a finite amount of time. And when you run out of time, that's it. We'll give people the agency to say yes or no. I talked about this with my best friend and personal trainer, who I greatly respect, Dr. Evil Genius on YouTube, where he was saying, you need to give people the agency to say yes or no. So I'll do what Jim Camp says and start with no. Feel free to say no. Feel free to say no. I would like you to spend 10 minutes on this. I'd like to take 20 minutes out of your day. I want to take 5 hours out of your day. I'm going to ask you to take part in all these things that are going to take up all of your time. I'm willing to let people say yes or no to that with no shame. But for some reason, asking people for $5, that's where we draw the line. We won't give people the agency to say yes or no. Because you see, when I ask somebody for money, when I ask them for $300, if I save them 15 hours and they make $400 a day, what I'm actually doing is I'm saving them $500 because they could make $800 in that time that they're trying to figure out board repair from scratch. And by me charging $200 to $300 for that particular job, I have literally saved them $500 to $600. I'm not willing to give people the agency to make that decision. And I used to do this all the time. I'm not trying to be a critic of you in any way, shape, or form, in some sort of non-self-reflective way. I used to make this exact same mistake, which is why I want to bring this up here. Like when I saw that comment of, there's other problems in the world, stuff like that. We're willing to ask people for the time, and time is essentially equal to money. Now, how much time is equal to how much money? That differs to every single individual. But that's why I want to give them the agency to do this. Now, when it comes to what I was able to do with what I collected, if you take a look at my channel, you'll notice for a very, very long time that I completely and utterly failed. I started, talking about this in 2012. 2012. I started, showing up to legislative bodies around 2014, 2015. Nothing. Bupkis. Nothing done. I have, probably dozens, probably at least 100 videos if you go outside this playlist of me showing up to every single one of these state legislatures and nothing, absolutely nothing. I was spending my own money on it already. I wasn't spending other people's money, but it didn't really go anywhere. So after going to all these legislative bodies, I finally decided to give people the agency to say yes to giving me money. And one of those people that gave me money was a billionaire. This guy was one of the programmers for WhatsApp, and he was also a seed investor in it. And he's a billionaire. He gave me $1 million. Not me, but he gave a nonprofit charity $1 million for me to be able to create educational materials, and not lobbying though. And so there were some limitations of what I was able to do. So what I did is I went to my audience and I said, here's something I want to do. I want to try to get a ballot initiative passed. So what I tried to do is find the people that actually did a ballot initiative in the state of Massachusetts that was massively successful. In Massachusetts, there was a right to repair thing for vehicles, motor vehicles, and they got this thing passed something like 74 to 26. I wanted to figure out who did that. I wanted to track them down. I wanted to try to do the same thing. I was sick and tired of failing speaking to politicians. I wanted to take the issue to the people, and if the people voted yes on it, as long as it is constitutional, as long as it makes its way through the courts, I don't have to deal with politicians that think a magtrometer is going to explode in your microwave. So I tried to find these people, and I did. And once I found those people, I raised all of this money. I raised about $793K on GoFundMe, and I raised about $150,000 outside of it. So I had about $900,000 that I could spend on lobbying. Now let's look at some of the stuff that we were able to accomplish after that. There was a right to repair bill for wheelchairs because sometimes people were waiting 3 to 6 months for a power button to get fixed so that they could actually go outside again. And this bill got essentially steamrolled. The politicians didn't really understand it, and as a result of them not understanding it and not really getting what needed to be done, this never moved forward. So what happened here? So I was able to work with a group called uspirg. There's one gentleman, Mr. Nathan Proctor. I have nothing but the most respect for this man in the world. And when I would go to these legislative hearings, a lot of the times he was literally the only person that showed up. There would be 14 lobbyists anti-right to repair, and him. And by the way, this goes back to the money thing, because a lot of the people that couldn't show up at that state legislature, when I would ask, hey, can you show up here? They couldn't, because they were losing out on $100 to $400 if they showed up. They did not want to lose out on $100 to $400 for their day's pay to show up to the state legislative hearing. Nobody would ever show up to them, which is one of the reasons we kept losing. But they could give me $5. And if enough of them give me $5, then I can pay other people. I can give them time, people who actually can put in the time to show up to the legislative hearing, so that things do get passed. But anyway, back to this. So they released this report called Stranded. It is a 23-page report, and if you take a look at the end of it, there are 38 citations. This is a professionally done report by people who know what the hell they're doing, going over this entire issue. And they also released this report over here. That's a different one, going over all the experiences that people had that were in wheelchairs. Now, politicians, they don't look through this shit. They really don't. Like, politicians go out there, they speak, they go on Twitter, they say the stuff they need to do to support the preconceived notions of their base so that they'll get voted in based on people's emotions. They don't, they shoot out more air than an At in 862. I wonder how many people will get that reference. But they should, the hot air. The legislative aides are the ones that actually tell them, vote on this versus don't vote on this. Here's what this means. So when I submit this to the legislative aides, they'll be able to go, oh, this is not just people complaining. And this is not something where if I pass this, there's going to be all these unintended consequences. I can educate them on everything that we're talking about. I can educate them on every single counterpoint, every single thing that's going to concern them, so that they can actually go over to the politician and say, yeah, vote yes on this. Just trust me, vote yes on this. And that is what happened. After we did that, this wheelchair bill got passed in the state of Colorado. And the best part is, after this thing got passed, the person that I work for now, Mr. Aaron Wolf at the organization FUTO, I'm going to be talking more about that at some point later. You can look him up. The guy that gave me the $1 million for Right to Repair, he also gave $200,000 to something called the Mobility Independence Foundation that is run by Mr. Thomas Quater. I'm actually going to be seeing him today at a convention in Houston around 2 o'clock, which is why I'm kind of rushing through this video, because I had to do something this morning that kind of took up a lot of my time, and now I'm doing this video, and I have to do the video again because fucking focus right now. This guy over here, we were able to get him $200,000 so that we don't need wheelchair right to repair bills if he succeeds in what he's doing, because we'll have open source wheelchairs that are naturally fixable by design, where you could just buy a power button from anywhere and figure out exactly how to fix it. Now, a lot of this happened because I was able to hire a lobbyist in the state of Colorado with the 501c4, and I was able to fund this educational material with the 501c3. You know who funded this? Me. That money. You know where that money came from? Billionaire. Now, there's this idea that, listen, people should be spending money on other causes. Point taken. This dude's money would have been sitting in a bank account, collecting dust, collecting interest, doing nothing for anybody. Will I take that billionaire's money shamelessly and be able to use it to help people? Abso-fucking-lutely. I will take as much of that man's money as I can get, and I will use it on good causes to help other people. Bar none. He is not willing to put his time into this issue. He wants to sit there creating a programming language and IDE that runs on bare metal with less than 100,000 lines of code, no Linux kernel, no GCC, no Clang, no nothing, that it literally boots up in 500 milliseconds. And then every single program that you write in this language will literally run on the bare metal with nothing else. That's how he wants to spend his time. Think of it like a combination of Terry Davis meets Howard Hughes. But all seriously, he doesn't want to put any time into this shit. If I ask him for time, I'm going to get nothing. But I got money, which I can trade for other people's time. I was able to get a lot of this stuff accomplished because I was happy with taking people's money. Now, let's talk about the downside to this. When you decide to take people's money, you are taking on the mantle of responsibility, which means that you have a responsibility to the people that you are doing work for, and it's going to be a responsibility that feels different if you're doing it for free. For instance, like if I do a repair for free, if I sign up for a free repair, I may bend the pin back in the cable rather than actually replace it. I may put it on the back burner. Something that should take 20 minutes might take, a few weeks, because I'm just not going to treat it as seriously. I'm not going to be as willing to trade my time if I'm not getting paid for it. And you wind up, to be clear, this is an extreme example, but like when family members, at least in my family, based on how they treated me during my childhood, when my family members ask me for a free repair, I wind up doing this. Obviously, a little bit of hyperbole over here. I'm not suggesting you do that. However, you're going to treat this differently if you know in your heart of hearts that this is an issue where you've literally taken people's money. You have a responsibility to those people, and that is scary. Further, you can fail. Now, there's a particular story that I said at some point in the future when, when enough time has passed, so I can go from the whole wanting to jump off a bridge over it to laughing at it, because that happens with most things over time, that I talk about it. So let's talk about that, because that is the story right there. So this is the fundraiser that I did to the 501c4 to try to get Right to Repair passed. And as I said, I wanted to try and do a ballot initiative. So this was a direct ballot initiative for Right to Repair in Massachusetts. You had this was essentially, how the hell is bit.ly not secure? Oh, come on, man. Oh, the site is, okay. Yeah, I forgot. There's like a missing parenthesis somewhere or something. I'll find this. You can look it up on Ballotopedia. 2020 Right to Repair Initiative in Massachusetts. They decided, you know what? I'm sick and tired of dealing with politicians that don't care about this issue. We are going to get the people to vote on this. And they did. 74 to 26. I did a video saying I want to track down the people responsible for this, and I did. So I said in this the fundraiser, if I raise enough money to do a direct ballot initiative, which is, I think it was like minimum $6 million, I will do that. And if I don't, I'll do regular lobbying. I contacted legitimate professionals, professional practicing attorneys that do this for a living, try to get ballot initiatives passed for a living. I asked them for instructions and everything. You know what I did? I raised money to the GoFundMe. You know what happened because I raised it via GoFundMe? You know how much of this money I would have been able to spend on a ballot initiative? I'll give you a guess. It's a single number. 0. Nothing. None of the money that I raised from people saying I wanted to do a ballot initiative could I use. You know why? Because you need to start a ballot committee. And then once you start the ballot committee, you raise the money directly to the ballot committee. Any of the money that you raised outside of that, you can't. Now, technically, there are kind of some like shady ass shit that you can do afterwards to be able to get around that. But you know, I'm not a politician. I'm not running for president. I'm not running for governor. I'm not a politician. Politicians break campaign finance law, not MacBook repairmen. So I didn't. So what does that mean? I raised this money via GoFundMe. Do you know what that means? There's a fee to be able to refund people if you've already started withdrawing the money. And I was withdrawing the money to the 501c3 bank account because I wanted to get started with some of the lobbying processes that were cheaper. So I would have had to pay personally, not on the nonprofit, because nonprofit didn't have money. If I raised, let's say I raised the $6 million that I wanted, I couldn't use it the way I wanted, which means that I would have had to find $300,000 to $600,000 out of my own bank account personally, which I did not have at the time, to refund everybody, or I would have been seen as a scammer. That was one of the worst years of my life. I mean, let's just go over a little bit of this. So I moved my business to a new location where I was paying almost 3 times the rent. I got ripped off by a contractor, which also took 3 times the rent. Spent a lot of money on a contractor, lost a lot of money there. After that, I have to deal with maybe we're going to be forced to be closed forever. So we have the COVID shit. After wondering if I'm ever going to be in business again and go broke and bankrupt for the rest of my life and fail. We have riots where I'm standing outside my store with a freaking very, very amateurly made nightstick that my grandpa made while he was working at a machinist at a brewery. After that, I'm in the middle of this process. I'm also getting audited, and the state is claiming I owe them somewhere between $600,000 to $1.2 million when I actually owe them less than $5,000. It was either 500 or 5,000. I forget. Probably I think it was 500. I would have owed nothing if I kept fighting it. But anyway, one of the worst years of my life. I could have been completely bankrupted. I could have been seen as a total scammer, even though I had good intentions. And that messed with me. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Most of 2021, I wanted to jump off a bridge. I would ride my bike home on the Williamsburg Bridge, and I cannot tell you how many times I thought about stopping, going over the bars, and just saying, fuck this. Seriously, I would have been seen as a scammer by literally millions of people. Now, technically I said if I raise $6 million, I'll do the ballot initiative, and if I raise less money than that, I will do normal lobbying, which is what I did. I raised less than 10% of I raised 15% of my goal, so I just did normal lobbying. But every single day I thought to myself, oh shit, what if I actually get to 6 million? Then I will have truly fucked everybody over. If I stop it, why did I stop it? If I do get 6 million, but I say I'm doing traditional lobbying, what the hell there? Did I lie to people? Even though I didn't get that, technically everything worked out. That guilt literally destroyed me. The stress of that. I cannot tell you the extent to which I wanted to jump off a bridge through 2021 into 2022. That level of stress, I lost hair from that. And the thing is, at the end of the day, I was literally working with people who do this as a profession. These people who were so fucking useless at advising me did this every single day. And when I asked them about, hey, man, why didn't you tell me this? It's like, oh, yeah, we didn't think you were going to raise enough anyway. I mean, we actually kind of, the amount that you were probably going to raise was just going to be just to get started. I'm like, I've never felt that much murderous rage in my life because it's on me. I'm going to make mistakes. And I did make mistakes. I made mistakes that made me want to jump off a bridge. And the thing is, you're going to make mistakes too. Do you know why? Because you're not a lobbyist. You're not a professional activist. You're not a professional organizer. And neither am I. Just because I buy a fucking, a factory outlet Banana Republic shirt for $13 and wear a set of, fancy looking dress pants and Calvin Klein shoes that I bought used or off lease for $10. Not off lease, refurbished. Not refurbished, used. That's the word I'm looking for, is used. That doesn't make me a lobbyist. I'm pretending. But the thing is, I'm honest with my audience. When these people were giving me $5 or $10, these people knew I'm giving money to a MacBook repairman that yells into a camera, that thinks that he's professional because he wears a cheesy looking polo shirt. They knew. I was honest with them. I don't have experience with this. And I gave them the choice. 99% of those donations that added up to $900K, 99% of them were people giving me $1 or $5, sometimes said $10. They were giving me their pocket change. These people were not willing to show up to a legislative hearing, and I have no problem with that because they have work, they have lives, they have responsibilities. But what they were willing to do was give me their money. And if enough people give me $1 or $5, then I can afford to hire people that will actually show up to state legislatures. I can afford to hire professional lobbyists that will get shit done. So something that fails will actually be done, will actually pass. I can afford to then have other people who are professionals, who have the ability to write documents, who have all this experience I keep clicking the wrong one, that have all this experience dealing with legislative aides, figuring out exactly what it is that they want to hear, to tell the politician, here's what you should vote for, and have them do it. I can have them do it now. All because of that. They're not willing to show up I'm asking them to show up to the hearing, which is actually worth $400 to them. That I have no problem doing. I can ask them to give up $400 because they may not have a sick day, but I'm not willing to ask them for $5. That doesn't make sense. And I think the reason that's the case is because deep down inside we feel like we're not worth it, but more importantly, we're afraid of failure. And yeah, there's a good reason to be afraid of failure. I was afraid of failing with this. And frankly, if I had failed with that, if I had the worst case scenario, maybe I would have jumped off a bridge. Who can live with that kind of shame? Who can live with that kind of guilt? Who can live with being lauded by society as that? However, at the same time, I got 4 bills passed. We got a Minnesota right to repair bill passed. We got a New York one, which honestly doesn't really count. Fuck New York. But we got a bill passed in Colorado for wheelchairs. Which means that people are not going to have to wait 3 to 6 months. People who are less able are able to go to the grocery store now. They can go to the grocery store without having to ask somebody. And if there's anything people that are less able do not hate more than anything else, you know what they hate? When you offer them help when they don't need it. People want to be independent. They do not want your help opening a door. They do not want you to say, hey, let me go to the grocery store for you. They want to do that shit themselves. Taking that away from people for 3 to 6 months is cruel. And we were able to get around the manufacturers doing that so they can get back up and running in a day or two. That got accomplished. The tractor right to repair bill got passed there so that farmers are now able to fix their tractors again so that they have the ability to make sure the food supply stays consistent. California bill got passed there. Did I fail on some of this shit? Yes, I did. And I'm probably going to fail a lot into the future, but I try to be honest with my audience when this type of stuff happens. There's a video that I did reflecting on losing 15 years in professional repair where I go over the honest truth. I don't consider myself a winner in this regard. I'm not a hero, and I want to push back every single time I see a positive comment about me. 100% of the time, I am not a winner. I am a loser. I started out 15 years ago. I had Lexington Steel's cock 2 inches in my ass. And then by 2022, I had 16 inches of Lexington Steel's cock in my ass. He kind of went balls deep with it. And I managed to take a quarter of an inch out. So now it's 15 inches and 3/4. That is not a victory. That is not. I'm not going to take credit for victory. And it pisses me off when people give me credit for shit that I haven't earned, that I don't deserve. However, I did get something done. And the thing is, when I'm 80 years old, when I'm dying of cancer and I'm on that deathbed, I am not going to be mad at that fundraiser could have went worse than it did. And I made a mistake here. And I got this bill passed, but in New York, it has a loophole. But it didn't have a loophole in California. I got this, and I was able to get this wheelchair thing going. And I was able to get, by the way, once I was okay with accepting people's money, once I reached this guy, I was also able to convince him to give $200,000 to this. And he did. I'm going to that convention today. I'm going to be talking to them all in person. I'm going to be interviewing them and talking to them on video. I'm going to show all of you. I'm going to think about that. When I'm on my deathbed, I'm going to, that's what's going to make me happy. I can live with failure. I can live with, when I'm on my deathbed, knowing that for the most part, I kind of had Lexington Steel's cock in my ass. 16 inches. But what I'm going to be okay with is knowing that I put in the work and the effort to take a quarter inch of it back. I stood up for what I believed in, and I did what was right. And that's the stuff that's going to fuck with me are the would have, should have, could have. I could have done this. I would have done that. I should have done this when I didn't do those things. I'm not going to think, what I'm going to think about are the regrets. I'm going to think about not asking Tiffany to prom in 8th grade. I wouldn't care on my deathbed if she laughed at me and everybody in the lunchroom started laughing and throwing their food at me because I actually thought that I could get a date with Tiffany to prom. I'm not, you laugh about that a week later. The same way that you go from wanting to jump off a bridge over your mistakes like this, to laughing about it. And I can laugh about this now because I did what I said I was going to do. If I raise less than $6 million, I'm going to do lobbying. The lobbying worked. I got a lot done. And I think you're the man to take up the mantle of responsibility. You know what? You may not be the best for it. You may not be for me, I am definitely not the smartest. I am not the best at speaking. I'm not the best at getting people on my side. I most certainly do not have a charming personality. And again, like I wear a Banana Republic factory outlet polo shirt and I show up to place and pretend I'm a lobbyist. But you know why I'm the person for the job? Because nobody else wanted to take up the mantle to do it. The people who were smarter and more capable were not getting as much community buy-in. They weren't inspiring people. They weren't doing what they needed to do to get it passed. So I did. You are the man to do this, sir. You are a respectable and honorable man. And I'm 110% certain, again, this is a very low bar. Very low bar, I understand that. But you are smarter than me. You are better suited to do this than me. You are better at speaking to your audience than I am. I've listened to what's on your channel. I have a lot of respect for you because you are better at getting your point across than I am. And you are more respect-worthy. You sound like somebody that is more likable. You have the ability to do amazing and great things. So once you make a plan, once you have a framework, once you have a rubric that you've written down, I want you to be okay with asking people for money. And you can do some of the stuff that I did. You know, when I did this, I made all of everything public. If somebody, I make the bank statements available. People can literally ask me about every single thing. There's another video other than this I'm not going to have the time to bring up because I'm actually late to go to this meeting, but at this conference. But if somebody submits something in a spreadsheet, there's a little other with the spreadsheet, they can ask for every single transaction how I spent it. I have not paid myself a dime from this nonprofit in 4 years. And at the end of the day, you know, there's 4 kinds of people on planet Earth. Behind door number 1, you have people that really want to be the change they want to see in the world, like you, that actually put in the effort. I say I want things to be fixable, that these companies are lying, but I'll also make 1,000 videos showing you that you can do it. And I'll have 100 entries in my wiki, many of them that I've written myself in repair.wiki, that show you how to do these particular jobs. The people that actually, you know, put up or shut up, the people that do the put up option. Number 2 are the wine moms that, you know, put the bumper sticker on their car, the hashtag in their Twitter bio, but don't actually do anything. They just want to pretend they're doing something. The 3rd are the people that want to do something but don't do anything at all. And the 4th are the worst type of people. The 4th type of people, those are the people that do they're going to sit on the sidelines and mess with you. They're the type of people that are going to say shit like, you're just doing this for your own gain. Like people the kind of person that's going to look at somebody that's advocating for money to be allocated to clean water pipes in Michigan and say, like, he just wants clean water for himself, ignoring the fact that 100,000 people in the city will be drinking water without lead if he wins. The people that's like, you want to improve society? You're selfish because you want society to be better. As if society is one person. Well, there are people on Reddit that will say shit like, you know, I only care about this because it affects my own business. As if I'm not in the service industry. As if me being able to get a part for $5 instead of $300 to $600 does not directly benefit my customer. As if there's no correlation there. When I'm saying that FlexGate should be covered by Apple for free, like that, instead of $600, when I advocate for that, like that's not affecting you, the person typing this message, shitting on me, who is using that same fucking computer. There are people that are going to shit on you. But the thing is, you're the first type of person, sir. You're the type of person that tries to be a part of the change you want to see in the world. You don't just say this shit. You do it. You have something on Europa.eu. You have something on a fucking official government website. You started to be a part of the change you want to see in the world. You're the first type of person. The problem is being the first type of person. You know why nobody does that shit? Because it's hard. It's difficult. You're taking on the mantle of responsibility. You're going to have that feeling in the pit of your stomach where you genuinely and honestly consider, if you make the wrong choice, jumping off of a bridge, like I did for most of 2021 and some of 2022. And the thing is, when you read through history, when you look through history, the people that are person number 1, most of these people, they're considered a hero in the small area, but they lead deeply fucked up and disturbed lives. Like when you read about them, they're not people that have normal lives. They don't have normal relationships. They don't have, their life is turbulent. It's filled with trouble and sometimes mental disorder because in order to be that 0.1% of society that actually thinks, I'm going to change all this shit because it's not right. I can do it. I'm going to go against all this stuff. I mean, if they didn't start crazy, they become crazy. It's not clean. It's not easy work. But I believe that you're the man for it. And all of these people believe that you're the man for it. I fully believe that if you write down a plan on paper, which you should do, I think that was a good thing that you said. You want to be comfortable with your plan. You want to be sure that you have everything written down before you ask for money. Once you do that, once you have a perfect plan written down, recognize that you're the man. Recognize that even if there are better lawyers, better activists, better speakers or any of that, which frankly I don't even think there are because you've done a great job of it, but even if that's true, they haven't taken on the mantle. They haven't decided to take up the responsibility. You have, which means that it's on you, the same way it's on me, to put as much effort in to succeed as humanly possible. Allow people the agency to say yes or no. Don't just ask for their time, ask for their money. and figure out how to use it properly. Figure out how to do it in a transparent way. You don't got to pay yourself a dime. But when you know you're responsible for somebody else's money, there's going to be an attachment to the work that you're doing that fundamentally does not exist when you're doing it for free. I'm going to vet the people that I'm paying to write these types of documents. I'm going to go through this stuff very, very with a fine-tooth comb. I'm going to expect what I inspect. I'm going to call the lobbyists that I hire and kind of grill them and chew them out a little bit if they don't do what they need to do, and then try to figure out what's going wrong. I'm going to meet with the constituents. I'm going to do all these things that I may not do if this is extra, if there's no skin in the game. When you accept people's money to a 501c3 or a 501c4 nonprofit that you're the director of, you're going to have skin in the game in a way that you don't otherwise. And I think you're the man to have that skin in the game. I respect the fuck out of you. I think you're doing great work. I think you are going to do considerably better than me. Not only can you learn from my mistakes, but you're a smarter dude. You're better spoken. You're more likable. You are going to get further than me. Unlike me, where I failed with right to repair and failed miserably. Again, as I said, the whole Lexington Steel thing, like that's one of the best analogies that I could come up with. Unlike me, where I failed a lot with right to repair, I got some stuff done, but most of it I failed. You're going to win with this. You have a better I believe that you're going to win with this. Your audience believes that you're going to win with this, and they want to help you. And I want to see you bring back ownership. I believe that you're the dude to bring back ownership when it comes to video games, and I don't want to see you closing off any avenues to do so because of that thing that you said about I feel weird about collecting money because there's other people in the world. There are other issues that need money other than this. You know what? There's a lot of issues that need money other than this, but people, that's not how people are spending their money. When I lived in Brooklyn, you have no idea how many people that could barely afford their rent, that had no money in the bank, would be leasing Mercedes S580s. Like, people spend money on all sorts of crazy shit. No offense, my personal trainer is my best friend in life. Good dude, I respect the fuck out of him. He spent $300 on Nike shoes that you require a fucking app to use the main feature, that they discontinued. People spend money on stupid shit all the time. I have Vandersteen Model 3s that I spent $1,100 on. I could have bought speakers for $50. People spend money on all sorts of crazy shit all the time. They're going to spend money on that crazy shit anyway. You might as well take that money and put it towards a good cause in society. And I want to see you feel good doing that. I want to see you feel confident doing that. And above all, I want to see you take on the mantle of being okay with failing. That is difficult. It is very hard to take on that 1,000-pound weight on your back of realizing that you are responsible and accountable to other people, and that if you fail, you may fail in a manner that destroys you so much you may want to jump off a bridge. At the end of the day, I'm going to think on my deathbed. I said if I raise $6 million, I do a ballot initiative. I raised 15% of that amount. I said if I didn't raise that amount, I'm going to do a lobbying. I did lobbying. Some was successful, some wasn't. I can live with it. You know what I wouldn't be able to live with? Would I have gotten further if I had created a nonprofit and taken it seriously? Would I have gotten further if I took people's money? Would I have gotten further if I gave my audience that respect of being in that agency of being able to choose? The right to choose. We don't have that right in Texas, but that's the topic for another fucking video. It's kind of I can't stand Dr. Ken Paxton. Not a big fan of him. And I think Ken Paxton's a decent lawyer, shit doctor. But that's what I would have to say about that. I believe in you. I believe in your ability to be successful. I think you will be successful, and I want you to take every avenue possible. Best of luck, my friend. I have a lot of respect for people like you and Steve Burke at Gamers Nexus. Most respect in the world, and I can't wait to see what you do. I can't wait to see you win, and above all, I can't wait to see you do a better job than I was ever capable of. That's it for today. And as always, hope you learned something. My apologies if this video is completely all over the place. I did it in one take, no editing. I'm actually, I said I was going to be there at 1. I'm actually going to be there closer to 2:30 now, and I'm 5 minutes late for a therapy session because of that fucking Focusrite. That is going to end up with my ceiling fan getting thrown off the fucking balcony after today. There's right to repair, and then there's right to rage. Right to rage is when you lose an hour of your life to a shit-ass glitching audio interface. I believe, when you think about carbon footprints and carbon credits and this whole idea that you can buy carbon credits from people, I feel like there's hundreds of thousands of devices that work again that are not in a landfill as a result of my work, which gives me there's carbon credits and there's right to repair credits. I feel like I have right to rage credits to throw that shit off a balcony and film it. Might just do that when I get home. That's it for today, and as always, hope you learned something.